Hi everyone. I just wanted to check in and touch base with a few things. One, the endocrine system test. Excellent job. The class average on that test is 79.4 for our web class. So really excellent. That's number one. And I hope that you guys are all doing well and that you had a nice weekend. That's number one. And then the test is number two. Also, I wanted to let you know, give you a heads up that I'm going to be giving an extra credit assignment this week. I don't have it open yet. I'm going to open it tomorrow and I'll send an announcement out and you'll see it in your email. I've been collaborating with a company called Labster to create a simulation activity for female reproductive system. And so they want to get student feedback on it. And so the extra credit is playing the sim. And the sim probably takes about 10 minutes to play and then filling out a form giving your feedback for improvement to Labster. So they collect the information, but they are going to let me know who gave feedback. And so for those people who want to give feedback, I'm going to give 2 points extra credit on the reproductive system test. And I'm going to have that extra credit open through just this week. So I'm going to close it midnight on Friday. So look out for that tomorrow if you want to do the extra credit assignment or check out this new sim. And get it done by Friday midnight and then give me the weekend to create a column in the grade book to show, the 2 points and then show your new reproductive system grade. So you'll see that coming tomorrow. And then the only other thing that I wanted to do today is I wanted to take a look at the cardiovascular system with you just for a minute, because I know last week we were really focused on the endocrine system test, and with good reason. You did a fantastic job on that. So I'm going to just go back to last week for a minute, and we're done with the endocrine system. But the cardiovascular system is the longest system in AP2. So we're going to have quite a few weeks learning about the cardiovascular system. And so I just want to kind of outline this and show you where the challenging parts are so you can focus on those more. So as far as the blood goes, that's a chapter in the book. We start with the blood. You should know the components of the blood. And last week, really all we did is, all these videos are about like red blood cells, white blood cells, and then I think I have platelets next week. So just taking a look at the notes with you. A lot of this is covered in lab, I guess, is another thing that I wanted to say. And so you do have that backup of hearing about, the basic composition of blood, what the function of blood is. It's pretty straightforward. What makes up plasma? We would definitely want to know that. And the structure of a red blood cell, the fact that it's super small, it's tiny, and it's filled with hemoglobin is important. You need to know the structure of hemoglobin and understand where oxygen binds. And then I would say as far as, red blood cells go, this would be the most challenging part, the life cycle of a red blood cell, because our red blood cell production is hormonally regulated. So we're used to this now with the endocrine system. And so make sure you understand the hormonal regulation of red blood cells, how we produce red blood cells at about the same rate that we take dead red blood cells out of circulation. And so I talk about that in this life cycle of a red blood cell. So I would say that is a little bit more challenging. Be familiar with the disorders that I have on the handout. And then as far as white blood cells, you'll go over this in lab. And so in lab, you're going to see what these look like. Probably in lecture, I'm more focused on like what the function is. And so I give you a little, list of what each of these white blood cell types do. I made a video, it's on our playlist, about white blood cell production and leukemia, white blood cell disorder. Now, this week, what we're doing is we're finishing up the blood and we're starting the heart. Okay. And so as far as, challenging material, I would say, make sure that you look over hemostasis. Hemostasis is just the mechanism to stop blood loss, which is a protective mechanism, right? Because we only have a finite amount of blood. And so if you spring a leak, right, if we have a hemorrhage, then that volume starts going down. And so that threatens life. And so in this section of the notes, I'm just talking about, the 3 things that we do in this order to reduce that threat. You know, first our blood vessel is going to constrict just like pinching a hose, and then platelets will start to aggregate there. It forms like a temporary plug, and then that temporary plug can be built up with some structure called fibrin to make a blood clot. And so this, I would say, is more challenging information, you know, blood clot formation. And I have some videos there for you. Make sure that you watch that, understand what platelets are. And then ABO blood types, I did make a video on this for you, but you'll go over this in lab. So hopefully you get this in lab. RH factor, same thing. I made a video on that for you, so hopefully you hear that in lab. And then as far as the heart goes, this week, really what we're focused on is just the structure of the heart, which is a lot. Okay, so we want to know like where the heart is located, what the wall of the heart looks like. It's very similar to the wall of the uterus, if you remember that. The connective tissue sac that contains the heart. I made videos about all of this for you, and so I hope you like those. You know what the chambers are called. You, I think, should be doing a sheep heart dissection in lab, and so you know, hopefully you'll see all of this too. I go into detail about the structures. What do the atrioventricular AV valves look like? How do they work? You know, what do the semilunar valves look like? How do they work? Why would they open and close? You know, it's important to understand with these valves, the nervous system is not controlling them. They're just opening and closing based on pressure changes, and so they're very mechanical in nature. And so I talk about that in my videos. Make sure you look at that. I trace like a blood cell through the heart, so the path of blood flow through the heart. We're looking at that this week. We're looking at how cardiac muscle differs from skeletal muscle. And I would say, you know, the real key thing to understand here is that with muscle, you know how if we had a stimulus that was at an increased frequency, that the muscle would contract and stay contracted, right? We called that tetanus. With the heart, cardiac muscle is not able to do that, thank goodness, because, you know, if our heart contracts and stays contracted, then we're not pumping blood. And so make sure to, you know, take note of that. And let's see. The intrinsic conduction system, they cover this in lab. So whether you cover this in lab this week or not, I'm not sure. But this is the last thing I have on our list for this week, which is understanding that integrated into the cardiac muscle cells, there's these specialized cells that can't maintain a resting membrane potential, basically. They keep depolarizing at, you know, an intrinsic rate, and that's what's known as the intrinsic conduction system of the heart. And this is why the heart will beat even without nervous innervation. And then an EKG is just measuring that electrical change that occurs in the heart due to these cells. So take a look at that. That will finish up this week. Please let me know where you have questions. And, you know, when you have questions, I'm happy to answer. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next week.